Hello YouTube divers, this is WaterDive122 and I want to welcome you to the fourth and final part of my Albums of the Year saga for episode 14 here on Magic Metal Mondays. So, what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to be going through all of my favorite studio albums from 1970 to 2005, the year of my birth. So, what we're going to do is that we're going to look at the 5 albums that are in the 2000s, and if I have some new albums, like from 2005 onwards, I might make a separate video on that, who knows. But today we are just going to be looking at the studio albums between the year 2000 and the year of my birth, 2005. Now, there are some really good albums in this batch, so let's freaking get started. Okay, so coming in for the year of 2000, we are going with The Dark Ride by Helloween. Now, I know famously on my Helloween album rankings, I placed this one quite low. I put it at number 9 on my list, behind a really good batch of albums. And that's kind of what The Dark Ride is. Now, at the time when I did my Helloween rankings, I said that I didn't really like this album. I didn't really like how heavy it was, but I get it now. I don't know what the heck I was thinking about. I was a fool. This album is fantastic, and considering everything that was going on around it, this was a pretty freaking good standout album. And although my opinion on the song "I Live for Your Pain," yeah, I still don't like that song. I think it's just one of the down points in Helloween's discography. But there are some really great tracks on here. First off, the freaking amazing title track is something else. Mr. Torture is probably one of my favorite songs on the album. It certainly is. It's very close between with the title track Dark Ride as my favorite song on the album. But both of those songs are freaking killer. The song Departed, freaking amazing. And Escalation 666 is, again, a little bit like I Live for Your Pain, but it's better. It's way better than I Live for Your Pain. I really like that track. So lots of great standout moments on here, and this is one of the standout albums from the year of 2000, and it's my favorite album from the year 2000. So it takes the 2000 spot. So let's move on. 2001, God Hates Us All by Slayer. Yes, I finally have a Slayer album on here. And considering that's all of Slayer's amazing albums to me, like their top 3 albums, were outlasted by all these other great albums, consider it here. There are some really great tracks on here. Take, for example, Disciple, which was the big hit off of this album. And my favorite song on here, Bloodline. From the freaking brutal music video to the killer riffs to Tom Araya's ear-shattering vocals and to their amazingly graphic real lyrics. I absolutely love that song. The rest of the album rests pretty safely, and I could say it was a staple in the 2001 discography, excuse me. And this album came out on 9/11. Isn't that something? This album actually came out on 9/11, according to some YouTuber. I believe it was Quest for Metal. I could be wrong, but Quest for Metal, shout out goes to you, man. So, with that all being said, God Hates Us All by Slayer, taking the 2001 part. Now, 2002, this might be a controversial pick. But this album just really stood out for me. Even though, if you look at this band's discography, you place it very low on your list. I'm talking about Vapor Trails by Rush. Now, yes, before you blow me up in the comments section, by saying how big of a fool I am that this album is not really that good. I mean, don't get me wrong, this album does have its flaws. But this was the first album I ever heard, not just from Rush, but period. The second side of this album really stands out to me. I really love basically every song between Secret Touch to Out of the Cradle. I love every single one of those tracks. Now, if I look on the first side, of course, you got the big opener, One Little Victory. You have Ghost Rider, which is amazing, and I have yet to read the book, so I'll be checking that out too. Stars Look Down is also a pretty good song. How It Is a really underrated song. I saw them play that one live on their R40 tour out in Greensboro. Freaking amazing experience. The title track as well is also pretty darn good. And then I mentioned all the songs on the second side of this album. Yes, this album is a little bit long, and yes, the production on the original version is horrible. But the remix version clears it up. I prefer both versions of Vapor Trails. I grew up with the original one, and the remix version is a lot better, in my opinion, and a lot of people would probably agree with me, especially Rush fans. But I really like Vapor Trails, even though on my Rush album rankings I put this one very low. This album is pretty good, in my opinion. And considering everything that's going on in 2002, basically stuff that I've not even heard of, this album really stands out to me. So, Vapor Trails by Rush taking the 2002 spot for me. Alright, so we're getting into a new album for 2003. And no, I am not going to pick Saint Anger by Metallica. If I was doing the worst albums of the year, this one would definitely, Saint Anger would definitely take the 2003 spot. But anyways, getting back to topic here. 2003, we were going with Fallen by Evanescence. Evanescence is basically this symphonic metal, gothic metal, heavy metal, alternative rock, like hard rock type of band. I don't remember where they're from, but they do have some really good albums, and this was their debut album, and this is a freaking classic. I mean, first off, it's got Bring Me to Life, which is a freaking amazing song by Evanescence. Going Under is also great. My Immortal, and of course the big song on here, Hello. Really good songs off of here. And I love the lead singer's voice on here. I don't remember what her name is. But she does an amazing job on the vocals. The instrumentation, musicianship is also great on this album. And really everything else in Evanescence's discography. This is by far my favorite Evanescence album. And yes, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I usually tend to give studio albums a lot of flack. But this album is one of those examples where a studio album works. Basically, not works like Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses, for example. But it works. It grooves with me. It shows what this band is going to be doing in future discographies. And really, this kind of sets up the sound for Evanescence, like their signature sound. And that's really why I love this album, as well as those stand-up tracks. And the freaking amazing album cover. How creepy of an album cover is the album cover for Fallen. It's freaking amazing. I mean, freaking amazing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. It's freaking amazing. So that said, Fallen by Evanescence takes the 2003 spot. 2004. If you've been playing along with me, then you know what my favorite album from 2004 is. And if you don't, then I'll tell it to you. It's American Idiot by Green Day. Now, this is my favorite Green Day album, and this is the definition of a hard rock concept album, besides Clockwork Angels. This album, yes, it's long, but all the songs on here are freaking amazing. There are so many classic songs on here, ranging from the title track to a Holiday, to Boulevard of Broken Dreams, to Wake Me Up When September Ends. Freaking amazing. I also love the second song on here, Jesus of Suburbia, even though it's over 9 minutes long. This album is just top to bottom amazing. And it's one of those concept albums where, like with Clockwork Angels by Rush, there is not a dull moment on this record. And for that, I can't help but love it. And this is the Green Day album that introduced me to the band. And you know, Green Day is one of my favorite bands. So to say that this is a really good album is a completely understatement. It's a freaking classic album. Yeah, I'm putting it higher than Dookie. I'm putting it higher than Insomniac. I'm putting it higher than all these freaking albums. And Green Day had a lot of really great albums. So, American Idiot by Green Day takes the 2004 spot. And now, finally, we get to the final album on this list. My favorite album of the year of my birth, 2005. We're going with Keeper of the Seven Keys, The Legacy by Helloween. Yes, all 3 Keeper of the Seven Keys albums made it onto this list. Excuse me. This album it's another double album. Third double album we have in this batch. And this, first off, this is my favorite sequel album. Or actually, in this case, it's a triple sequel since it came after the 2 Keepers albums. But regardless, Andy Darius and Danny Lobel are featured on here, and Sasha Greshner, as well as Michael Weikath and Marcus Grosskopf, of course. Only Marcus Grosskopf and Michael Weikath were on the original 2 Keeper of the Seven Keys albums when this album came out. And only Weikath contributed from a songwriter point of view. So there are a lot of really great tracks on here. It opens up with King of 1,000 Years. King for 1,000 Years, yeah. And that is a freaking amazing metal epic, and what a way to open up the album. It's freaking amazing. I absolutely love that track. Invisible Man follows that up. It's freaking amazing. Pleasure Drone is also really good. Occasion Avenue. And of course, my favorite song on here, The Shade and the Shadow, which I believe is on side 4. That's a really good song, too. My Life for One More Day is also really good. There's just so many amazing tracks on this album, on this double album. And it's like I said with Tales from Topographic Oceans by Yes and The Wall by Pink Floyd. There are so many tracks that I can just come back to time and time again off of double albums. And any album in general, especially all these albums that I've talked about throughout the course of this 4-part series. But anyways, Keeper of the Seven Keys, The Legacy by Helloween coming in the number in for 2005. So that's it. We're done going through all the albums between 1970 and the year of my birth, 2005. So thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.